see a blinking live button. So hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So I guess we should introduce ourselves. Do we want to do that first, guys? Gentlemen, would you like to lead us?
Well, ladies first.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, hello. This is live streaming part one. My name is Michelle Wright. I am part of the congregation here at the North River Church of Christ outside of Atlanta, Georgia, technically in Marietta, Georgia. And we do our live streaming definitely every Sunday. Sometimes we include some midweeks. Just a little bit about myself. I was a radio, TV, film major and have a bachelor's degree in that. I work as a news anchor in my secular job, and so I am talking on the media and what I do for the church. I produce their services.
All right, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Cadell here in Denver, Colorado, and I'm primarily a worship minister and media director for our church here, and paid full time by the church, which is a major blessing, and I realize that's not an opportunity that everybody gets. But yeah, just amazing to be able to take the vision of worship that God has given me and the vision of tech and knowing both sides, being able to bridge that gap. And so I think that's been like a really unique thing here in the church, to kind of bridge those ministries, which me that's all the worship ministry. We have the AV, audiovisual, and then the MV, the musicians and vocalists. And so that's where I'm coming from. I've been doing this for 10 years, like 8 years as a volunteer, and then the past couple of years paid on staff, and lots of different experiences, lots of different sizes and different churches. So that's where I'm coming from.
All right, so I see some comments about feedback. So I'm not sure if, all right, they're asking us to mute while we speak. So anyways, I'll let's see if people can hear me clearly, and then we'll address that. All right, so my name is Wismar Cleland. I'm the former director of creative content operations at Univision's Communication. Been responsible for directing and managing a large group of content creators. They're responsible for delivering over 2,000 pieces of content monthly to linear, digital, social media platforms for one of the largest Spanish networks in the U.S. I have over 25 years of experience in the development and production of creative content for some of the largest network and cable stations, such as NBC, ABC, CBS, ESPN, and among others. I was also an adjunct professor for the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Florida International University. Taught TV production, studio production, and TV directing. But I'm also the director of the Broward Church live stream team. So I organize it, schedule, and actually direct the crew that puts together that production every Sunday. I've been a disciple for about 20 years, and I'm happily married. I have a wife and 2 kids. So I'm glad to be here. This is really awesome. I think we're going to ask for questions. We have some of the things that we can share with the audience, but if you can start as we speak, you can share your questions on the chat. We'll sort of take care of those questions as they come up. So.
And I was derelict. I did not introduce the lovely brother and the gentleman that is to my right on my screen. That is Pete Cruz, and we definitely work together. So Pete, please let people know who you are. But unmute your microphone. No. Well, that's Pete Cruz, and he helps me out a lot. We work together, producing and running all the technical aspects and everything at North River. Pete, are you working now or no? No, we can't. Well, I was going to rely on him a lot with the technical stuff. He'll just have to kind of sign or put some papers up, or he'll text me and he'll tell me what to say.
There you go. Right. So, Wismar, you want to kind of kick us off with your thoughts there?
Okay, sure. Yes. I have a couple of slides that I'll prepare. I'll be keeping my eye on my phone's going off. I'll keep an eye on the chat, and if you guys see anything on the chat, just interrupt me. So let me see if this works correctly. I can share the tab here. All right. So everybody can see that clearly? Yep. I'll assume you can. So I've always had an affinity with the internet and technology in general, and that comes from God. Throughout history, you can see how God allows humans to come up with innovations or tools that can be used for good or bad. This passage in Genesis is a great example of tech back in the day, right? Not being used to glorify God. The tools themselves are not inherently good or bad. And I'm grateful that more and more the church is using tech to reach out to people where they are, be it in our local communities or online. So how do you start? How do we start, right? I'm a firm believer that you go in the strength that you have. But what do I mean by that? A lot of churches in this day and age have been forced by the current circumstances to embrace the internet and live streaming, to embrace internet and live streaming. But there are a few philosophical matters that I'd like to share before you embark on this, or if you're already on this, I'd like to just kind of share those thoughts, right? I strongly believe that you need your leader's support and vision for these to take off. So pray for your leader's support. I know that not everyone is embracing this, but have the conversations. Use scripture with your leaders and let them know why you feel this is important. Once you have their support, you have to be on the same page as your leader when it comes to the vision for this particular ministry. And live streaming, in my opinion, is a ministry.
Yeah.
Each one of us may have the credentials and the God-given talents to run a production, but your church leader has the God-given role of leading the entire congregation. As a good leader, they probably will, defer to your expertise when it comes to doing production and things like this. However, there will be times when the minister has to make difficult decisions, and just having that alignment from the onset will make things much, much better. Remember, God is in control, right? So you have leadership support. You have to have the vision for the ministry defined. And lastly, you have to remember the mission. Always remember the mission. There is a fine balance between getting God's word out there and turning a service into a production. You want to do an excellent job live streaming, but at what cost? And I'm not talking financially here. It is meeting the needs of the body. Is that something that the live stream is doing? Or, are we turning it into a modern day Tower of Babel for our own glory? So those are things that I think are important. If you're doing those three things, if you have the support of your leaders, you have a vision defined for the ministry, and you always, always, always remember the mission, you're in a really, really good place to move forward. I do have some practical advice, but I don't know if we've seen any questions.
Yeah, Michael Cunningham just asked, any suggestions for scriptures on what we can use when trying to convince pastors of their vision for live streaming? Asking for a friend.
All right. So let me. Any of you have any scriptures that you?
Well, I think about, I don't have a specific scripture off the top of my head, but I just think about the way that God called for excellence specifically in the Old Testament, and talking about the temple and how specific God was about, I want these people to do this thing, and I want these people to do this thing. And like, it was just all about excellence for his glory. And I think that's such a powerful thing. And so I think we should be using the best of our talents, our technology, our culture, our everything. We should be using the absolute best stuff we can get our hands on to be able to glorify God. So that's kind of where my thoughts come from. And that's partially ripped off from a lesson I've listened to a lot on all of this stuff. So that's not my own original thoughts.
I will say we do get a lot of, we do devotionals and everything before, so which I'm sure many churches do. And Sherwin, who leads our Sherwin McIntosh, who leads our worship ministry, did this devotional for us about how God is all about AVL, audio, visual, lighting. And when you think about it, when Jesus went and he taught his parables, he got into a boat, he got into the water. Why? Because water actually helps sound carry so more people could hear his message. And when you look at that, or when you see a rainbow in the sky, it's God using that light and those visual prisms to communicate to us. And so there's audio, there's visual, there's lighting that is throughout the Bible. And to be able to utilize that and utilize the technology that we're in a space that we have now in order to help communicate with people, I think it's actually all throughout the Bible, and different aspects have been utilized through millennia.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And I'll point back to that scripture that Kayla shared at the beginning of this whole event about, and I'm spacing out right now, but it's basically, we become all things to all men, right? And we're supposed to go where the people are, where those are the things, this is not just technology for the technology's sake. That's sort of my point. We are using technology to reach the people where they're at. We can't physically go to every place in, Broward County or Denver or Atlanta, but we can go where the people are gathering using technology. So, all right, any other questions that?
Yes, there's a lot of other good scriptures there. And definitely, I think it's great to go and look it up for yourself. I see Jackie just mentioned 1 Corinthians 9:22. John David mentioned, of course, the Great Commission of we've got to go to where the people are. And I do think this is where the people are in 2020. They're on the internet. They are utilizing technology, and to be able to utilize what you have, be it Facebook Live. We have some awesome things that we just launched via Facebook Live. And we have a team, I will say, at North River. It's not just Pete and myself. I'm actually part of on the board of directors for the church as well. And I lead the communication strategy team and the communications team, all of that stuff. So we've got a ton of things. So Marie Toussaint does a fantastic job with our Facebook Lives. We've just launched some coffee chats that we do for about a half hour every Saturday morning. And they're designed to reach people, especially during this time, who are trying to find faith in these unsettling times. We've done different things on our website, and we have a website team that is able to load the lessons that we have in the past, so they'll be easily shared. So even if people aren't able to log on during your normal service times, members can go and they can share those sermons with their friends who could be in a different time zone or could be in a different country, who just want to know more and who are looking now to find out more about God. And so I really think this is a super exciting time to be doing live stream and to have the technology that really works with this.
Yes, that's great, Michelle. I did see one question that I want to touch on real quick. There was a question about the difference between live streaming or recording versus, what's one and what's the other? Is there any benefit? And real quick, I'm going to touch on it. I put up some slides, and I'm going to go through them real quick. I don't know if you can see them, but basically, there are different tiers that you can do. If you think about going in the strength you have, I know that Denver has someone who's dedicated, and then Atlanta has two people who are really qualified and really helpful. But that might not be where you're starting, right? You can go in the strength you have. You can start with no budget, like I say here. But there's certain things that you need to remember. Even just because you're doing it with no budget doesn't mean it can't glorify God or it can't be good. So I'm just gonna give you a couple of pointers. If this is your set, if this is where you're at right now, let's say no budget. There are a couple of things that I recommend. You can put your phone. You can start with a basic phone, recording your service, maybe just the worship or just the sermon part of your Sunday service, right? But I'd like you to make sure that tripod is, or that phone is set up on a tripod. We don't want to have, you have to think about the experience that the person on the other side of that screen is going through, right? So you want to make sure it's good, it's steady, not shaky. So you want to have it on a tripod. You might also want to run a power cord to connect to your phone, so it doesn't die in the middle of the preacher's final crucial point, right? So, a lot of smaller churches meet in a venue that may not have good Wi-Fi connection. It's possible that you have, that the venue has good Wi-Fi, but if you don't have that, you might want to use your own cell phone connection, because sometimes it's better than what a local venue can provide for you. And you can also, so you have the phone on the tripod, you have power to the phone, reliable internet connection, and then have a decent, make sure that you're focusing on what's important. You don't have to show everything that goes on during your service. And guys, if you have anything that you want to add, please jump in there, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah. We can. Yeah. Great.
Okay, great. My audio is back. Well, a thing about North River is we started very low budget, and we started with a account to live stream, a free account to live stream, and a free account to Vimeo. And we recorded our services with a camcorder and posted up. We eventually got to be live on a Sunday, and piece by piece, we've just kind of piecemealed it up to where it is now. So, any church can kind of go through some things. Both Michelle and I are available, that if anybody has like any specific questions one-off, you could feel free to contact us and see how we started things up. But I like the cell phone idea. I know that live stream, actually, if you get a live stream account, you can actually live stream straight from an iPhone. Nowadays, the technology is there. It's just getting, if you get a couple of people who are dedicated and ready to go and want to do it, the resources are definitely out there and available for big budget churches and for small budget churches.
Excellent.
Yeah, let me chime in here. I've been reading the comments section, and there's several questions that are kind of applicable in line. So I just want to touch on those real quick as we're going here. So some of those questions are: how important is production quality for online church? The basic equipment needed for live stream at a reasonable quality, unidirectional versus multi-directional, and kind of like what's the benefit of each platform that we have at our disposal. And so I think as far as platform goes, there's a lot on the comments about Facebook Premiere and what's the difference there. And yes, it's a free service. Honestly, the thing about that right now is that Facebook is like really overloaded, and everybody is having issues with their Facebook videos. So what I would say is, although that is a great option and we use it here, don't rely solely on that for your people. If you're going to do that, like, try to have at least a couple different directions you're going. Make sure you look into the limits of what that Facebook Premiere video needs to be, as far as resolution, the quality of it, how big it needs to be. There's a minimum size and there's also a maximum size. So I think minimum is like over 3 minutes, and then a maximum size is 10 gigabytes. We streamed yesterday. Luckily, we're streaming to a couple different platforms, but my video was 11 gigabytes large, and
wow.
I didn't know that the max was 10 gigs, and so it cut us off like before the end of the sermon on Facebook, and so then I had to direct everybody to our other platform there. So, and then the other options, the easy options are YouTube. YouTube now has a Premiere option. I saw yesterday. Didn't try it because I wanted to test it first. But so I think that's an option there. But what we do personally is I uploaded it to YouTube, made it unlisted the night before. That way I could test it, make sure everything's working, during the week. And then we use Church Online platform. If you're not using that, to me, this is the best free product out there that we could use for our churches. Because the thing about YouTube is they're going to have, there's a lot of distractions. On the side, you have all these related videos. If they pause it, it's going to suggest videos that aren't in our vein of churches. They could get ads. Same with Facebook. If they're on Facebook, they're going to get notifications. They're going to get dings here, pop-ups here. The thing about Church Online is it's an immersive experience. So if you don't have it, I'll post. Roger Lamb just posted a link to it. So in the chat section, you can go there, get your church registered for that. It takes a couple days to get it working. So don't do it on Saturday night. But the thing about it is it's an immersive experience. There's your video that you embed from. You can embed it from YouTube, from Vimeo, from Living as One, other various sources. And then you can do it simulated live. So you can just have a video that's embedded and it'll go live at a certain moment, or you can do it live streamed in this. So it's all inclusive in all of that. There's a chat room on the side, just like this. There's live prayer. You can activate hosts who can see live prayer and pray with people in a private chat. And then below, you can post up banners, like little banners beneath the video that says, click here to give online, and it takes them straight to the website. So to me, that is the absolute best, all immersive, all inclusive, free product that you can use for your live stream. So that's some of the benefits. If you're looking at between YouTube and Vimeo, benefit, YouTube is free, but it has its own kind of watermarks all over the screen. Vimeo, you can get rid of those if you pay. But then again, that's a paid versus free option. There's some starter thoughts. I definitely have more, but
Yeah, and again, I think figuring out what works, especially for your congregation. If you've got a congregation of, say, 30 people or less, then, like I believe it was Tom Kuhn mentioned, Zoom may be what you need to do. That
Correct.
could work for you, and you don't necessarily have to go into something that's going to broadcast. And really, it's going to be determining what works and what works internationally. There are definitely different platforms that may be better in the continent of Africa, maybe different between Nigeria and South Africa as well. And so it's really trying to look to see what works for your, not only your congregation and its size, but what works for your internet space as well. And whether or not it's utilizing the existing internet that's there. We have, rural parts of Georgia that still are waiting to get internet. Or is it just, well, it would be easier if everybody hopped on their phones and just did a Zoom call and we could have church that way.
Good. I just saw a question about OBS. Actually, it's the comment on OBS live stream on Facebook. So there's different approaches. You can, right now, we're doing something that's totally different than what we used to do before this coronavirus situation. Because of all the limitations that we have about being together, we are actually recording a smaller Sunday service, but we record on Saturday. We do a little bit of post-production, and then we live stream it, quote unquote, live stream it on Sunday. Before, on our regular Sunday service was a live production. So we went live, we stream. We have two services, so we live stream both of those services. So you can use OBS. OBS is basically the software. It's a free version. It's a free software that you can use to basically take in all your video sources and send them out to Facebook Live, YouTube, whatever the distributor end is. So that's what OBS is. I forget what it stands for, but it's
open
broadcast, you can search software. Yeah. Okay, so you can search online, type in OBS, and it's very extensive, very good. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's less powerful. There was another question about live streaming on Vimeo. When we first started, we were using OBS, and then we move on to Livestream Studio. Livestream Studio was purchased by Vimeo. So when you pay for the Livestream Studio subscription, it allows you to broadcast to multiple services at the same time. You can broadcast to Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook at the same time. So you can take that content and also put it on Church Online. So that's I guess I hope that answers the question about Vimeo. You have to have a Livestream Studio account, I believe, to live stream through Vimeo.
You do.
I just wanted to address Savannah's question and probably Johnny's question as well. Because Weismar, you talked about how you guys pre-record your services on Saturday and then you stream them because of the epidemic, the pandemic, to be correct. Yeah. Pandemic, that's the word that everyone's using. But what we have done at North River is we're still streaming live. We moved our live stream to 11, but what we have done is we've merged some pre-recorded videos with some live. And so we kind of are able to blend it. And I think, Savannah, that was answering your question of how people are able to do that. And it's really just with that transition and trying to work with that. And so we have had welcomes by families who are at home because, you've got your little kids, and it's also good for the congregation to see other members of the congregation that they are used to seeing on Sundays, but they're not able to see. And so what we've done is we've ended up blending the two. So we have our live worship. We are practicing social distancing guidelines, and we are all staying at least 6 feet apart from each other. We make sure to say that so people understand. And we have limited, and we have, pared down. So really, it's just the preacher, a couple singers, and a couple folks on the live stream. But then we solicit some videos that we're able to run during that service.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, lots of good questions coming through.
Yeah. Can I chime in there?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, so we're kind of running short on time, and there's like literally we could talk about this all day. And there's just so many different options, so many different ways to live stream. And I think we'll be some of us are going to be networking and kind of helping out, answer questions in the chat room as well. But we'd love to answer more specific questions like that. I also want to touch on a couple other things, if that's cool, and kind of segue here. But some people are asking about unidirectional versus bidirectional. What like connects people the best? What's the best way to go there? And me personally, I have different opinions on how to do that, because it depends on what's the goal of your church. Kind of like Michelle was saying, like what's the size of your church? What are your capabilities? Obviously, if you don't have the capability to broadcast or live stream, then using Zoom for a collective church and being able to mute people and all that is going to be helpful. But to me, I look at what is the setting on a Wednesday, like our midweek service or a devotional or a Bible talk or small group, whatever. Like those are things where we're specifically trying to connect with one another, and it's kind of that multi-directional feel. Whereas on a Sunday, people come in. Yes, we have the fellowship, but it's the church's opportunity to give, to edify, to build up the church. It's the leadership's opportunity to do that, and I think that's where a unidirectional feel can be helpful, because we can be able to still build up our people, and that's why I push church online as well, because there is the fellowship in the chat room, and I think for us, people have really connected with that, and we commission our staff and some of our leaders to be able to host those chat rooms, to guide the conversations, to ask questions, to greet people. And the feedback we've gotten is, wow, I feel like I just walked into a church building, and I feel so welcome, so loved. And yes, We're not here, but I'm still feeling that. And that's not on Zoom, that's in a chat room. And so and just like you guys are talking over here, like it's the same feel. But I wanted to move into a little bit of, so right now I think we're at a unique pass of the coronavirus kind of forcing us into the 21st century of being able to reach the world. And for a lot of any of us who are here are probably like, yes, like obviously coronavirus, God please help us. But I go, there is something of a silver lining with it, that like Absolutely. A lot of us have been pushing this for a long time and trying to get leadership, our worship ministries, and our congregations on board with the vision of like we have to reach people that aren't making it to our church buildings. And like that to me is so important, because the impact of all of this in Denver here is like through our live stream, and not even just our live stream, but our online church. Because the reality is right now, a lot of us are stay at home, like on order by the government. And we can't meet together. Like we can't meet at our church building to live stream, even if we are 6 feet apart. And so we go, okay, what do we do? And I think it's more important now than it ever has been that we're able to reach, because people are scrolling on Facebook, people are bored at home, and people are filled with fear. And so I go, what are we there? Are we connecting? Are we reaching the outside world in that way to be able to fill that need? And so that's where we're at currently. And I love that we're all like that. There's a need for this conference, the Quarantine Church Con, because it gets us thinking, and we have to think not just now. Like, okay, yes, we're quarantined. Yes, we're forced to do this now. But as you're thinking of your vision and talking to your leadership and talking to your worship teams, I want to encourage you to also address what happens after this. Like, where do we go once the stay-at-home order is lifted? What do we do once the quarantine is done? And how are we going to use this to be able to reach those people still? And I think a lot of things are going to change in that way. But just consider that as you're envisioning and building this ministry, it's not a temporary thing, although there is a temporary need. That need is going to continue, and we still have to continue to address it.
Can I
go.
Can I talk a little bit on that? Thanks a lot. You made a lot of great points, and I've been working on that at North River. We actually drafted one of our brothers to actually monitor traffic on our live stream, and he's been running full reports, and he sees an average of 200 to 400 unique visitors every week to our services, even before all this stuff has happened. So we kind of donned it that this is our own little church service. So it's just like having another room to our church, and that's when we actually started doing the online chats and chatting with the people. And we drafted 2 people right now who have been in the ministry for a long time that know a lot of people. And I think the last I talked to him, we had 5 people that were just looking for a church in the greater Atlanta area stumble into our live stream, talk to them on the chat, and within a couple of weeks they came to one of our services, and hopefully down the road they'll get baptized and come to Christ, just as if it was somebody that looked at a newspaper and said, "Oh, North River, I'll go check that one out." You know.
So that's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
That's
and by ministry, I just want to clarify, Pete means not paid staff. These are members of the congregation who are utilizing their talent and their desire to help people.
So that's, there's so many points. And like you said, we could talk about this all day long, but that's a good way to use those people who might be fearful about, their place in this new age, right? You could use people to be greeters on the church online platform, and that's, they can still be friendly. They can do those things that they do in person. The other thing is, we're not to the point where we figure out, online baptisms yet, right? So when we reach out to people, when we reach out online, the atmosphere, and I have to lift up the team, the hospitality team in Broward. They do an amazing job at just getting those, when those people come in through the door, just making sure that the experience that in person, it's really, really good, that they feel, whatever they were getting from the live stream, the online service, when they come in through those doors, that it doesn't feel fake, or that there's no personal connection. So that's where we're at in Broward right now, just making sure that those who come in through any of the social media platforms that we use, that they are met by someone when they do come in. The next evolution is, okay, how do we engage them where they're at if they don't come in, right? So that's the question you were sort of, and Church Online platform does a great job, but that's another place where you need more people. I don't know how many people are in your team, but our team, in Broward, we have people who are dedicated to do media, but they can't do the media and the greeting and everything. Volunteers are the lifeline of every single one of these aspects, right? Because we're extending the church. We can't do it just one person. I know each one of you wears many hats, but you're going to need the support of people who are in the ministry, as Michelle said.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is
our team is about 25. So
and I think that's
healthy team.
Yeah. And understanding for folks who, depending on the size of your church, and we do have a large congregation, but there are people who right now are on lockdown. They're at their house and they're looking for some way that they can reach out to people. They're looking for ways to serve and to be able to kind of say, hey, can you go on our website and just see if there are people who are looking for churches and engage them? That will work for a church of any size. Or in a Zoom conference, just to bring somebody in and to be able to not just think about, okay, how are we going to survive this, but how is God going to be glorified through this, kind of like he was in the plagues in Egypt. And I pray that we're not in a plague, but in that God was glorified during that epidemic. And so what can your churches do, depending on the size, to engage your members to help them reach people who are searching for God right now?
Amen. Yeah. I don't know how we're doing on time.
We're coming in for a landing here pretty quick. I want to talk for a second about kind of the medium church size. So we here in Denver, we have about 800 members split between two campuses, and I'm currently in our north location in our building that we own.
Looks great.
Thank you. Right behind me, like this is our tech booth, and over there we have our manned camera, and then graphics computer, and then our video switcher guy, and then one person sitting here mixing audio for a broadcast, and then one person sitting here mixing audio for our in-house, and then back over there's another camera in the aisle. So I'm paid full time, major blessing, and I'm going to talk on that in a second. But I think on a regular basis, our worship team, including audiovisual and musicians, vocalists, is 15, 20 people. So we meet together at 8, have breakfast, take communion together, and then get started on our day. But that's kind of a medium church. That's what it takes for us to make it happen in a live setting. Right now it's totally different because of the quarantine. But I think I would just encourage you to, if there's any leadership on here or anybody that's able to talk to leadership, like wherever you're at, whether it's small, you're just starting, your medium church, your large church, you have to invest. And that's like been the message of my life for the past 7 years being here in Denver, is like, initially I was investing all my own time, all my own resources, all my own vision, and thankfully I had the support of the leadership. And then that kind of transitioned into where the leadership saw kind of the value of it. And I think now, more than ever, leadership is seeing the value of what we do. And then there has to be a way, some way for the church to kind of invest into us, whether that's training or the time, being able to support financially. I think that's something we have to invest into. We invest where our heart's at, right? And our heart of the church is to reach the lost and to connect our people. This is how we reach the lost in today's society. Like we cannot let this go by the wayside. A lot of other churches are succeeding in this, and it's really, really powerful. But as far as like video quality and stuff like that, I know I'm like blasting to get through some of this stuff, but like content is key. We got to put out good content. We have to connect our people with the right things. The strength of our movement is our connection. It's our discipling. It's our truth. It's our ability to be able to live the Bible accurately. And I think that's something we have to continue to lean into. Obviously, you got to have video, but I actually want to encourage you, rather than focusing on video so much, focus on the audio, because somebody will put up with a bad video if there's good audio. Somebody will not put up with a good video if there's bad audio, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Invest into the audio. If you can get a separate person mixing audio for your live stream, your broadcast stream, in post, whatever you're doing, like invest into the audio. And lighting helps as well. I was in the backstage talking with Wismar before this, like running around trying to get my light set up because I was like, I want it to look good. But lighting makes a difference if you have the ability to do that. And then the other side is creativity and buzz. Like, it doesn't matter what we do. So there's two things. What the musicians, vocalists do, it doesn't matter without the tech team. And what the tech team does doesn't matter without the congregation pushing it out and creating the buzz. And that's on social media, that's on website, that's on web browsers, on Google. Is your SEO or your Google AdWords on point? Are you able to reach people through those things? Kind of look at some of those things online. But we got to be able to get our stuff out there. It's not just about creating it, but it's about using it to reach people. And so we're like, we could talk all day. Oh my goodness.
Yes, you can tell. I mean, it's the passion for this. It's not something that, I mean, it's not just, this is the first time I met you, and I met every single one of you, and the passion comes across, at least to me. And that's really how I feel. You have to be passionate about this, because it is a long process to get from zero. We when we first started, we weren't doing what we do today. So be patient. Like I said earlier, God is in control, and God is the one who's going to make your ministry grow.
Yeah, and real quick, just wanted to, as I'm scrolling, there's a question about children's ministry. I do know there's a children's ministry portion of this conference that will be there. Our awesome children's ministry leader, Melissa Pellick, will be on that. And she has done a fantastic job being able to really communicate with the kids who are home and they're missing their friends and all of that, and how to engage your kids in children's ministry, still teaching them, still making it happen during the fact that we're all kind of sheltered in place, and what that's looking like. And so I know there's another session that will focus on that. Just to answer the question very briefly, what we have done is we have a short segment during our live stream, which we talk directly to the kids and help them figure out what's going to be next. And then we involve children in those segments.
Great. I think Tyler plans to be on the networking session. I'm going to be on the networking session, because there's so many things that we probably didn't touch on that are worth discussing, and we can get a little more specific about practicals over there.
Yeah, maybe what we can do is we can kind of share our Facebook information in the chat room, or some sort of information to be able to connect with us, because I think a lot of these things, it's going to be per your situation. Like, right. All of our equipment sitting right here is not going to be right for you probably. There's going to be different things for everybody, but we really just wanted to give an idea of what it takes in general. And I wish we had more time to get into a lot of the specifics, but
I'm going to pop a slide with some resources and my email. I don't know if you can see it right now, but this is, churchproduction.com, really good website. Church Training Academy, also a good website. And last is my email. You can email me, wismar@gmail.com. Feel free. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, because, as Tyler said, there's so many specifics, and it's hard. My setup might not work for you, but if it does, then great. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's. So please connect with us. Please ask us questions. We'll do our best. I know we're all busy during this time. But I'll post my information over there, or you can just look me up on Facebook, and I'm sure all of us are willing to do that as well.
Awesome. I guess we're saying adieu. So bye.
Bye.